Hey, what's up, y'all? Metta World Peace here, live from the Test Your Greatness Studios. We in the building. Brought to you by the Pandas Friend. Make sure you go to thepandasfriend.com. Support thepandasfriend.com, a brand where you want to test your greatness and you never give up. Test Your Greatness podcast is coming. Super impressed. I'm just going to get right to it. I heard that the kid, Anthony Edwards, was similar to MJ. I had thoughts. I looked at MJ's stats as a rookie, different things like that. Obviously, he's a serious player. Since I retired from the game, it took me a while to get that competitive juice out of my system. So a lot of the players that was coming into the league, I wasn't necessarily watching or paying attention to. Some of them have evolved. Some of them was rookies. Some of them probably wasn't in the league. But the league is left in good hands from the Durants and the LeBrons and the Melos who retired. He been retired, but Chris Paul's is still in the league. AD is at his prime, at the peak of the prime, and now you got these Edwards and SGAs and all these guys that are not even 10 years in yet. But specifically for Edwards, yeah, he's the real deal. He's the real deal. That kid or man probably has an opportunity. If he wins it this year, that's going to say a lot. That's going to really say a lot. I thought that they were a little bit too young, like the OKCs, and I thought they was a little bit too young. But, this is a new day and age. This is the present moment, and what was too young before might not be too young now. But could for sure play the game. I probably would have had difficult times. The way he plays, probably would have got me. I remember Brandon Roy. Brandon Roy. His career wasn't long enough, but I think he would have had multiple good games against me. I had my fair share of, good games, against Brandon. But, this Anthony Edwards kid reminds me a little bit of someone like that who would have been a Hall of Famer, maybe will be, I don't know, who was just as good as your favorite players, just, didn't have the longevity. And he's different. Brandon Roy was himself. He wasn't like MJ. He wasn't like anybody else. He was himself. The same thing with King James. He's not MJ. He's King James. He's different. And I think that's what we get with Anthony Edwards. I think we don't have to compare. It's just they are who they are, you are who you are type of thing, Before that, it was Dr. J, then it was Earl of Pearl. I think they all so different, but they here now. The league right now, I remember when it was transitioning from our era, we don't want to talk about that. That was a different type of style. Then in 2010, that was probably the end of that era. Then it started to change. Game opened up year after year after year. Then about 2015 to 2018, I'm just like, I don't know what was happening. I was like, it was just confusing. Then everybody adapted. Stephen Curry kind of pulled his style with him. Now people shooting the ball better. Yeah, we want to see more defense. I'm sure we're going to bring back some good rules to get it back how it was because it is a lack of defense. But I don't fault the players. People can say what they want. The players these days, they're not soft. They're playing according to the rules. They can't do what we did in the 90s because it's the rules. Even the fans don't really know what they're talking about because it's not that they're even better than us. It's a different set of rules. So you have to work on other parts of your game. When it was our era, you had to work on your defense. You had to sacrifice working on that left in and out and sacrifice it for defensive slides and lifting weights and cardio like Rip Hamilton. Well, the game has changed, right? Rip don't have to run from players that's on his tail. Now you can work on your in and out left shot. You can work on all these different moves because it makes sense. Right? It makes sense for you to work on these weird one-legged things because you don't have to do what we did in the past. If the game was open up, then yeah, we would have to work on three-point shooting if that's how the rules was. So that's just a quick education for anyone who feels inferior to the fan coach. Don't feel inferior to the fan coach, but keep being fan coaches is great. I love hearing the takes, but the rules are different, so the players are adjusting, and now it's settling in. I think when the defensive rules kind of come back a little bit because it is a little bit too open, then you'll see an even more complete game. But I say that because the players look good, with the exception of a few carries. It is a little bit too much carrying for me. It's a little bit too much carrying, and it's always been too much carrying. It's not only these players that carry the ball. Players back then was carrying the ball, and I don't know why it's not a call. It should be a call. If you can't dribble the ball with your hand, not on the bottom, then just pass the ball to another point guard. Just make the call, ref. Just make the call. But other than that, when I'm looking at the players, the physique of the players is looking better than it was on average. I remember a while ago, I'm just like, okay, who's lifting weights? Who's like doing push-ups? Is anybody doing push-ups? Well, the physiques is looking way better. The fundamentals is looking better. Guys is respecting the mid-range game. Thank you to DeMar DeRozan for, keeping that mid-range game alive. Thank you to Kawhi Leonard. Thank you to Chris Paul. Like when I'm watching the game, I'm just like, I'm a fan. I'm just like, where the mid-range at? Thank you for Edwards for, continuing the mid-range game. SGA, don't let nobody tell you can't have a mid-range. You the baller. They not ballers. you the baller. How somebody that can't ball gonna tell you to work what? I ain't working on that. One-legged what? Just pass me the ball. Work on your mid-range game. Work on your mid-range game, the in and out, crossover, all the stuff. Get to the mid-range, get to your package. Thank you, the gentleman from NC State, for going to work and being effective out the block. Double pass, simple basketball. So I feel like right now I'm a little bit passionate because I love the skill set. I'm not gonna go as far as say the skill set is better because then we got to go into Michael Jordan and then we're gonna get into. I'm not even gonna get into that. That skill set was different. There is no skill set like it. Maybe somebody's getting close because this is a good era. It's not. I'm just saying there's nobody. Come on, it's not. I'm not gonna argue, but what I do want to say is, for these players in the present moment, it's a joy to watch. You get somebody. Sometimes we say, "Wow, this player is not really a star," and people like myself don't even know that some of these players was picked in the top 10. I typically don't learn about someone until they get into the playoffs multiple years. Then I start to pick up on unless they bang out on somebody like Edwards did. Now, that is right away. But some guys don't have that flair, but they nice and they coming on the scene late. But I say that because the game is for sure in good hands. Now, it is a little bit easier for the big guys because it's small ball. You got to play. You can't sit all the big guys. And the big guys you do play, if you're athletic, you will have an advantage. The same advantage that Will Chamberlain had. The same advantage is there. But the difference between Wilt and the rest, he came in averaging 15, 18 points? I think he might have averaged 13 points his rookie year. He put in work. That's why he averaged 50. Not because he was playing against firemen. If you compare now, there are guys right now that should be getting 50 and they're not. Big guys. And it's also because the game has changed because the ball moved to the point guard's hand. When in our era, it was at the 2 and the 3, even though you gave it to your point guard. At some point in time, even before that, it was going in the paint to the big guys. Then it evolved from that. But now it's going back and forth, and the big guys are saying, okay, if I can't touch the ball in the block, then I got to shoot a three. And then they did that. Look at Embiid and all these guys, look at AD. But now the game is coming back. Finally. It's still a little bit too much scoring, but that is not the players' fault. It's not the players' fault. The players will adjust. If you brought back the 90s rules, please bring some of it back. Please bring some of it back, because these players can handle it. And whoever can't handle it, well, there's a lot of other leagues out there, I think, that could use some, softer style. But I think some of the rules, it would be great to see, like, just a little touch, little sprinkle of some of the, the old rules, and get these scores back a little bit closer to the 100. Where when you get 30, it's like, that's a real 30. That's a 30. When Kobe got 30, it felt like 40 or 50. You know what I'm saying? Because it was only within 90 points. So that's not critiquing the players, because the players is taking what you give them. These players was going to make it with these rules or the 90s rules. So, for the fan coaches, it's great that you're kind of enthusiastic about the game, but I don't think you understand, if you take these players from this era and put them in the 90s under the 90s rules with none of the 90s players, you'll see a different you'll see a hell of a different game. You'll see Embiid knocking a few people down. You'll see PJ Tucker, getting it in. You know what I mean? And if you take the plays from Reggie Miller's era and put them in today's game, you're going to see Reggie Miller hitting 10 threes. So it's not that the players, the players are not, you would think that the players are soft. The players are soft. You would think that. But these players is from the hood. I don't think they're soft, honestly. Now you can make an assessment and visualize yourself, in the game, which I have done. I just stopped visualizing myself in the game. It took me a while. I'm super competitive. It took me a while to not see a player and see food. That took a while. But, I think when it boils down to it, I'm looking at these players play, and I'm saying, finally. Now, there are some players who ain't playing no defense. And at that time, I have to throw up. If you told me I didn't have to play defense in Indiana the year when I got Defensive Player of the Year and I was averaging 18 points, if you told me I ain't have to lock nobody up and put that energy for offense, that's 6 extra points. Man, that's 24 a night. You mean to tell me I could just jog and I don't got to close out and help on the middle and box out, rebound, and then go on the other end and get the rock because I'm 1 or 2, because I'm number 1 or number 2 on every team I was on until I got with Kobe and Powell? Oh my goodness. That's 5 extra points, man. That's 5 extra points, at least on the average. On my prime, it's probably an extra 7. But I say that because that's one thing that I will not be kind of blindsided by, is the fact that, I can't wait till we get back to where you have to be in your shell. I hope we get back to that. That's going to be up to the rules. That's not the coach's fault. It's not the player's fault. Now, yeah, as a coach, I'm a coach. We just adjust. That's easy. People say, how would you adjust to the game? Well, how is a 60-year-old going to adjust to the game? It's easy for a 44-year-old to adjust to the game. Some of the fan coaching is, it's appreciated. I'll say that. It's appreciated, but, it's questionable in terms of, the arguments that you're making. But, I don't necessarily watch them all. I watch a few. I hear a few things. But this, segment here on the Test Your Greatness podcast, hosted by Metta World Peace, who will then have a co-host when I'm busy and not able to host. Sponsorship by thepandasfriend.com. Make sure you go to thepandasfriend.com, support the brand, a brand where we want you to test your greatness and never give up, ever. ArtTestUniversity.org. Been around since 2007. Used to be called exceluniversity.org. And arttestmanagementgroup.com, where we support athletes and entrepreneurs with marketing, technology, and business development. On this podcast, it was really, Anthony Edwards stood out, honestly. When I watched this game, I was just like, wow, this is a new era. And I'm happy. Not to say what Stephen Curry wasn't doing, what Stephen Curry was doing is not amazing, because that is insane what he has done. To be able to make 3-point shots the way he makes it, your mind got to be on another level. That's just next level greatness. And then people tried to copy, which it was a great case study that you could actually play like that. I didn't know that was even possible, man. I didn't know that was possible. So that's an exception, and it's also an eye-opening moment that you could actually play like that and be effective. It's incredible. But, even Steph has a mid-range game. Don't abandon the mid-range game. Don't abandon the catch it on the mid-post. And I can't wait to get back to the 1 dribble buckets and 2 dribble buckets. I feel like that's coming. It's a little bit difficult, but I can't wait to see, that 1 dribble bucket where you just trust your game. 1 dribble bucket, 2 dribble bucket to the basket. You might have to be a little bit more physically, have a more physical build or be exceptionally quick. But anyway, I'm just paying homage to where we at in the moment. It's exciting to watch. I've been a critic of the game where I didn't even want to watch, because it was just like, what are we working on? What's going on? Like, who's working on their fundamentals, man? Get out the club and work on your jab step, man. Work on just a jab right go, jab left shot, jab right shot, left jab shot, switch it, pivot, turn, spin off the post, head fake. You work on your handle. Where's your handle at? That's what we was going through as a fan. I'm a fan. I'm super competitive. That's for sure. When I first retired, I did see food. That's for sure. But I also love the game. So we also watching as an OG player, as a player that love the game. You also like, oh wow, that dude pretty nice. Like, oh, he should work on that. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm not mentioning women because even though I coach women, I don't coach men. I coach women, even though I can coach men. But I've watched NBA games more than I've watched WNBA games. And I'm just saying, I just love where the game's going back. And now you got even Caitlyn got a mid-range game. A lot of females got mid-range game. And to the coaches out there, don't hold your plays back. There's a lot of skilled plays out there, which is dope. I do see a couple girls being held back. Like not being able to use all the assets that your body and the symmetry gives you to work on that court. The symmetry that you have, that's split down the middle that can work both ways. It's a blockage, and I think as coaches sometimes you get a little bit nervous that if they try this is not going to work and you're going to lose the game, and now they're stuck in a little realm, and they just they are who they are for the rest of their career. It's like learning a language. That's your accent, that's your language, and if you don't get the players working on that, using both sides of the symmetry, then that's going to be their language. No game, no footwork. Until you work on it 10,000 times. So, I would just encourage people to, especially coaches and the players, just keep getting better, work on your fundamentals, stay in the gym. But all that to say, yeah, I like this new era. I don't like all the rules. I'm not putting that on the players, but it's exciting to see. So I'm looking forward to watching more games in the playoffs, and I hope you are. Metta World Peace in the building. We out.